Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who as well. Peace and salutation to the elect. My name is Ainal. The title of this video is This Point System is Gradualism, right? Now, basically, is regarding to this point system here that ICE is using. It says ICE using point system to identify migrant gang members, what to know. And basically, it's just that a point system, whether you're good or you're bad, whether you fit the description or you don't fit the description, but this is gradualism for the MOTB, because once this MOTB is, issued out, it will be a point system or a social credit score, determining whether you're good or you're bad, so it says federal agents are using a point system to determine whether migrants are members of the Venezuelan gang, TBA, according to new court filings, right? And basically, with this point system, Trump is, bypassing individuals. He doesn't care about the courts or anything like that. And it's that's true because you have people getting picked up that has nothing to do with this point system, or not in the gang or the case may be, and they don't belong there. It says one form advises agents. Aliens scoring 8 points and higher are validated as member of TBA, which is the game. Or, in terms of MOTB, or, places like China and also Israel, they have point system regarding, if you're good or you're bad, regarding social credit systems, and the scriptures say in Revelations 13, around the 16th verse, that what? Verse 15, I'll get it real quick. It says Revelation 13 and 15. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So what? That's going into Esau's Edom, laws, regarding what he wants, but ultimately goes into the MOTB, because that MOTB is going to be the mark that you need to buy or sell. But also, if you're not following along in society, once you even have the MOTB, then they can cut it off. Let me grab some of those. And, all right, this is Isaiah 10 and 1. Isaiah 10 and 1 says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. Right. So that goes into, and I'll get the NLT. It says, what sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. Right. So pretty much that once that MOTB comes, it's going to be part of that point system, regarding unfair laws, and they don't really need it. They can make any new law up and say, well, you're disobeying this law, and then and make your enemy, and turn it off. It says what to know about the point system. It says among the filings from ACLU submitted Friday was Exhibit S, which included a form entitled Alien Enemies Act, Alien Enemy Validation Guide, which is allegedly being used by federal agents to determine whether an immigrant is a TBA member, right, which is a gang member. And once again, like I said, people are getting rounded up that don't even fit the description of what they're talking about. Regular everyday Americans, So anyway, it's not that deep. It's just a gradualism to the MOTB. And this thing is at the forefront, of the news pretty much, with ICE, running around scaring people, just picking up random individuals, and even in the news, what? They're showing that people that's talking against, the JOOs and things like that are getting picked up, so all of this goes together. That's why I said it's gradualism. It's going to, once they issue out the MOTB, pretty much that system is going to be implemented once you take that. They will just cut you off from society, which you will get Revelation 13 again. So this is the point system here of what they got. They say you need 8 points or more to basically be titled as a member. So they're getting you familiar with the point system. And this is old things too, you know. It says subject conducts phone calls about the business of TBA with known members of TBA. See, so they can go back in your history and see what type of things you've been posting online, the things that you bought or the things, that you said, or whatever the case may be, and use it against you in this new system that they're trying to implement, which is that MOTB system. So it says if a migrant scores 8 points or more across multiple categories, then they could be determined to be part of TBA, right? It says this exhibit also excludes notices. I'm sorry, this exhibit also includes notices to be sent to law enforcement officers explaining who should be picked up, and the immigrant themselves detailing why they are being detained and removed from the U.S. See, so this is gradualism, and I'm gonna get this over here because this is the same thing with Israel. So this is something called a blue wolf that Israel uses. I did a video on this before. I didn't look for the video because I don't remember the title of the video, you know. But anyway, it says how does it work? It says the blue wolf is believed to be part of a broader surveillance policy initiated by the Israeli army in 2016, which deployed facial recognition technology sensors and cameras to monitor Palestinians in the occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank. What appears to be new is that instead of taking photos from stationary cameras, Blue Wolf gives Israeli soldiers the ability to capture images from smartphones and then use the app to search a database. So that database goes back to the point system. Like I said, I looked for the video though, not my personal video. I looked for a video, and I couldn't really find nothing on it. But it goes back to a database that they store information on people, basically whether that person is good or bad. It says the app then has a color-coded system that indicates whether the person photographed should be arrested or allowed to pass. See, the soldiers told the Washington Post. So the only way it can be color-coded and know whether the person is allowed to pass or not is based on what? The information that they found on that person. Going back to the point system. Is this person good or is this person bad? So just something they're using right now, in the West Bank in Israel. So that's another example. Let me see. And just more articles on it. Israel deploys facial recognition tech in occupied West Bank. And, even now, as prophecy continues to, move forward, we see that the least of the flock is drawing out Babylon the Great to war. But not only that, the least of the flock is leading Babylon the Great. So Babylon the Great is going to be following what Israel has going on. And this is the technology that Israel is using, with their civilians, this facial recognition, these apps to track whether you're good or bad. See? So, and even right now, Donald Trump's cabinet is pro-Israeli individuals. And they want total control, right? Total control. It says thousands of Palestinians in occupied West Bank are under the panoptic gaze of an all-encompassing facial recognition system deployed by Israel over the past 2 years, according to a report by the Washington Post published Monday. It says Israel's Blue Wolf initiative uses mobile devices to capture photos of Palestinians' faces that are then matched to a sprawling database that a former Israeli officer described as Israel's clandestine Facebook for Palestinians. And what you do on Facebook, you put your whole life on Facebook. When you go on Facebook, you allowed to put where you work at, where you worked at in the past, where you're currently working at, who all your family members is, who you associate with it, friends of friends, might know people, then you post all your information. Yeah, so this is a database of people's lives that they have recorded, and regarding that information, they know whether you're good or bad. So it goes back to that point system also. It's gonna get a little bit of this, but kind of about it, because and this barrier is pretty much where they're doing all of that stuff at. They have all the cameras, and the apps and checkpoints and things like that. The West Bank barrier, and what this also goes to what what is it, 15-minute cities, where everything is right there, where you need it and it's controlled. It says the West Bank barrier, West Bank wall, or the West Bank separation barrier is a separation barrier built by Israel along the Green Line and inside parts of the West Bank. Israel described the wall as a necessary security barrier against Palestinian political violence. Right, and pretty soon what? With these banking elites or out of chaos, they're going to issue all this MOTB as a necessary security measure against whatever, whatever it might be. It says, whereas Palestinians describe it as an element of racial segregation and a representation of Israeli apartheid. Apartheid. Let me look that up real quick. And that's, even people in America now are talking about this total control regarding the MOTB and all of that as, basically total control and too much. That's pretty much what these Palestinians are saying too. If you watch some of these videos, they're like, I'm constantly watched by cameras, and all of that. It says apartheid, a policy or system of segregation or discrimination on grounds of race. And in the sense of the MOTB, is going to be the rich versus the poor, right? They want total control of the poor, the lower class people, right? While the rich is doing what they do. So let me grab this China. So China point system. It says China's social credit system is a broad regulatory framework that aims to assess the trustworthiness of individuals, corporations, and government entities using a point-based system to track and influence behavior with the goal of fostering a more honest and harmonious society. It says purpose. So we read some of this because this is what they want with this, MOTB system that they're issuing out. And like I said, that's how this video is. This point system is gradualism regarding this, this ICE situation. It says the system aims to enhance trust in society, regulate businesses, and promote good behavior by rewarding desirable actions and punishing undesirable ones, right? And it's easy to do that once you have the MOTB by turning on or off this device that they're going to put in you. And it's basically going to be based on, like they even tell you, oh, you ate too much meat and this week, so that's too many points against you. They even say, cows fart too much, so they might say, oh, well, you farted too much, this week or whatever, and they say, they just turn it off just because they'll blame you. It says individuals and entities are assigned scores based on their actions and behaviors, which can increase or decrease depending on whether their social behavior is deemed acceptable. See? So they could put a point system where, maybe you was walking outside too much, They can do anything. Just like I got the Isaiah 10, Isaiah 10 and 1, they're going to prescribe different laws, how they want the world to be. And it's going to be against you, because they don't like the general public. They don't like the people. They want population to a certain amount. So once they have the total control and you have this MOTB, they can basically kill you by turning it off. It says consequences. A high social credit score can lead to benefits like basically loans, long terms, easier access to public services and opportunities for higher education or employment, while a low score can result in restrictions on travel, access to certain services, or even difficulty of obtaining a loan. You see, but Esau Edom, pursuant to Habakkuk, he's not satisfied. Let me grab that. and then we'll get this revelation. That's pretty much it. It's just, you know, going into it. We know these devils trying to issue out this MOTB. I have a clue too. I'll grab it in the NLT. Habakkuk 2 in verse 5 says, wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. They open their mouth as wide as the grave, and like death, they are never satisfied. In their greed, they have gathered up many nations and swallowed many people. See, so they're never satisfied. And that's why the scriptures say, for the elect's sake, those days are shortened. Because what? Esau Edom, he's not satisfied. He will eventually kill everybody. Let's see if I can grab that. So let me grab the scripture real quick. I believe this is the Revelations. I believe it's Revelation 6. Let me see. Right, this is Revelation 6 and 7. It says, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death. See, this Esau Edom. And hell followed him. So basically, it's all about death for Esau Edom, right? That's why you got John 10 and 10. I'll grab that next. It says, so verse 8 again, it says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. See? We'll get this John 10 and 10. I'll grab it in the NLT. John 10 and 10, the thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. That's the point. And then Yahushua speaking, it says, my purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. Right? So, pursuant to Yahushua, that's life. But trusting in Esau Edom and Egypt and their way is death. So let me grab these Revelations. So I'll grab it from the 11th verse, Revelations 13:11. Says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So this is going into Esau Edom, right? And in a deeper sense, it goes into is the two horns like a lamb is that the two different parties, the Democrat Party, the Republican Party. But it says, and he spake as a dragon, and that goes into what? That Isaiah 10, basically laws that he had prescribed, draconian measures, right? You take that MOTB. They signed something, a draconian measure where you got to do something crazy to keep your MOTB device on, keep up with the point system, basically being a robot out here. Verse 12 says, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him and causes the earth and them which draw the ring to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed, right? Because why? The Roman Empire fell and America is the revised Roman Empire coming back. It says, and he doeth great wonders so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And that goes into what? Nuclear missiles that Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua gave these devils, right? It says, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And once again, that is going to his MOTB system. And that includes the point system regarding MOTB. That will be implemented in how, you buy, you sell, you go out in the world. These are things that they talked about. Basically, what are you doing? Are you doing enough? Are you doing too much? Right? Are you doing too less? Are you eating too much? Things like that. That's all a part of that point system, and it's just gradualism, getting you familiar with it. And because we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. This is something we can clearly see, right? We, the hopeful elect, the prophets of the Lord, we can see these things and we can tie it to scriptures and say, hey, listen, this is how they're going about it. And that's why the scriptures say, then they shall know that a prophet hath been among them when these things come to pass. You niggas gonna get the MOTB, right? And they gonna point system you up and you're gonna be failing and losing, right? And you'll know, even when the MOTB come out, you will know. But because of fear and no trust in Yahweh Washim Yahushua, you can go ahead and take it, right? Because you trust in Esau Edom. Esau Edom, he's gonna shut everything down, have you with no internet playing games, with no internet on the computer, with an MOTV, and then they're gonna cut that off. End the game on the computer. It says verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And how he had power, right? Esau Edom is in the power seat now to do all that he wants. That's going back to his blessing. With his blessing, he conquered the world. He gathered all nations to himself, and now he's issuing forth that all nations should follow this system, basically. And it says anyone that's not going to follow the system is going to be killed, because regardless of what, the world is going digital, right? That the whole world right now is going digital. This is what the banking elites are doing. But ultimately, it's the test of the Lord, the great testing. Because this mark, it belongs to the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. See, Esau Edom thinks it's of himself, but he's just a tool, being used by the Heavenly Father. He's the weapon. The scriptures say, shall the axe boast against the person that swings it, roughly paraphrasing. So that's pretty much what's happening. But, the scriptures also say that the Most High Yahweh rule up in the kingdom of men and give it, set up whoever he wants. So he set up Esau Edom to be that in that power seat to push forth this system and basically kill those that's not going to go along with the plan. That's why even if you look at the Amish, they're using more technology, because they're by gradualism, they've been slowly cut off from society just by Esau Edom pursuing and going further in the world. Where you got Daniel 12 says that knowledge shall increase, wisdom shall increase. Let me see if I can grab that. What it say real quick. And that's what happened. So those Amish people is a good example of how Esau has been forwarding this thing to make people, bend the knee to him, basically. Yeah, it says that. Daniel 12:4 says, but thou, O Daniel, shut the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Men shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. See, so that is prophesied that knowledge will be increased, and now here we are entering into the digital age, right? So Revelations 13, going back to 15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And I already went into that, point system adding up, you not fitting the bill, and they just cut your chip off. Now you can't buy or sell. It says 16, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the name of his name. Right? Here's wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the name of the beast, for his name of a man, and his number 600, 6. Right? So that goes to that 666 that Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is tied to, right, in his system. Right? And just like the scriptures say that, hey, you won't be able to buy or sell unless you got the mark. And then even then, once you have that mark, they can cut it off and control you by point systems like this. So hey, Lord willing, you edify from the lesson. I'll say Shalom to the elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.